Nice That You Looking At, You're Not Sorry, is a song written and recorded by the American singer-songwriter Taylor Swift for her second studio album, Fearless, 2008. In its lyrics, Swift's narrator calls out an ex-boyfriend for his betrayal. Produced by Swift and Nathan Chapman, You're Not Sorry is a rock power ballad with a sound that critics describe as mournful or dramatic. Its verses are driven by piano and fiddle, while its refrains incorporate dynamic, crescendoing electric guitars. To promote Fearless before its release, Big Machine Records made You're Not Sorry available for download via the iTunes Store on October 28, 2008. An electronic remix was released for the episode Turn, Turn, Turn of the TV series CSI: Crime Scene Investigation, in which Swift made a guest appearance. You're Not Sorry peaked at number 11 on both the Canadian Hot 100 and the US Billboard Hot 100. And it was certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America. Swift performed the track at the 44th Academy of Country Music Awards in 2009 and included it in the set lists of the Fearless Tour, 2009-2010, and the Speak Now World Tour, 2011-2012. Critical reception of You're Not Sorry was mixed. Reviews either praised the production as catchy or criticized it as overdone. Following the 2019 dispute regarding the ownership of Swift's back catalog, she re-recorded the song as You're Not Sorry, Taylor's version, for her re-recorded album Fearless, Taylor's version, 2021. Critics mostly praised Swift's vocals on the re-recorded version as having improved. You're Not Sorry, Taylor's version, charted in Canada and on the Billboard Global 200. Taylor Swift wrote songs for her second studio album, Fearless, while touring as an opening act for other country musicians during 2007-2008, when she was 17 to 18 years old. She was promoting her first album, Taylor Swift, 2006. Continuing the romantic themes of Taylor Swift, Fearless is about love and heartbreak from the perspective of a teenage girl, using autobiographical narratives embedded with high school and fairy tale imagery. According to Swift, this was a deliberate choice to ensure her fans could relate to her album, and nearly every track had a face that she associated with it. She and the producer Nathan Chapman recorded over 50 songs for Fearless, and You're Not Sorry was one of the 13 tracks that made the final cut. Swift was inspired to write You're Not Sorry by an ex-boyfriend whom she realized was not being honest with her, and it took her a while to figure out his lies. He came across as Prince Charming who had a lot of secrets that he didn't tell me about. She recalled that the situation turned into a breaking point, where she felt she had to walk away before allowing herself to get hurt further. Swift wrote You're Not Sorry alone and produced the track with Chapman. It was recorded by Chad Carlson and mixed by Justin Niebank, assisted by Steve Blackman, at Blackbird Studio in Nashville. Big Machine Records released You're Not Sorry for download exclusively via the iTunes Store on October 28, 2008, as part of the campaign, Countdown to Fearless. Fearless was released by Big Machine on November 11, 2008. You're Not Sorry is track number 9 on the standard pressing and electronic remix. Made available for download via the iTunes Store on March 5, 2009, featured in the episode Turn, Turn, Turn of the television series CSI: Crime Scene Investigation, in which Swift made a guest appearance. Swift left Big Machine and signed a new contract with Republic Records in 2018. She began re-recording her first 6 studio albums that had been released under Big Machine in November 2020. This decision followed a 2019 dispute between Swift and the talent manager Scooter Braun, who acquired Big Machine Records and the masters of Swift's albums. Re-recording them would enable her to have full licensing rights of her songs for commercial use. The re-recording of You're Not Sorry, subtitled Taylor's Version, was included as part of Fearless's re-recording, Fearless, Taylor's Version. Republic Records released Fearless, Taylor's Version, on April 9, 2021. At 4 minutes and 21 seconds long. You're Not Sorry is a rock power ballad with elements of country and hard rock. Its verses are driven by piano and cello, and its refrains are instrumented by loud, dynamic electric guitars. Critics describe the soundscape as somber, solemn, and dramatic. The critic Annie Zaleska characterized the song as a thundering ballad, and attributed this quality to what she described as melodramatic piano, mournful fiddle, and crescendoing electric guitars. Jordan Levin of the Miami Herald deemed it a rebellious tune, and Jonathan Keefe of Slant magazine wrote that the refrains feature prominent pop hooks. Swift sings with dramatic vocals. According to Erin Strecker of Billboard, Swift's voice conveys pain and lets loose, singing lyrics such as, "Looking so innocent the first might believe you if I didn't know. Could have loved you all my life if you hadn't left me waiting in the cold." Scott Mervis of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette described her delivery as chanteuse à la Tori Amos. The re-recording, You're Not Sorry, Taylor's Version, features an identical arrangement as the original, but some critics commented that its production features Swift's richer and deeper vocals. According to the commercial music professor Michael A. Lee, her voice is less nasal and comes more from the chest, the background vocals are more subdued, and the strings are recorded in a closer proximity to the microphones. Swift grouped You're Not Sorry among the breakup songs on Fearless, alongside White Horse and Forever and Always. According to her, You're Not Sorry expresses dissatisfaction at a romantic failing from an angry perspective. The song's narrator resents the fact that her ex-boyfriend betrayed her trust, and it took her a while to realize that his apologies are insincere and that he will never change. This ex-boyfriend does not take accountability for his mistakes. So the narrator ends the relationship for her own good. Kelsey Barnes of Gigwise dubbed You're Not Sorry the antithesis to Fearless's lead single, Love Story. She regarded You're Not Sorry and White Horse as two sides of a same coin. The former sees Swift blaming her blind optimism, while the latter sees her blaming the ex-boyfriend. Some reviews highlighted You're Not Sorry as a counterpart to the fairy tale-inspired optimistic love songs that make up the majority of Fearless. Rob Sheffield, writing for Blender, thought that the lyrics contained tingling pheromones. MTV's Kyle Anderson remarked that the lyricism was surprisingly heavy, and the slow-burning arrangement made the emotional tension more palpable. Ash Amanda of the Edmonton Journal contended that You're Not Sorry retained the feminine passion of Swift's first album, but it represented a more contemplative and reflective tone that replaced the vengeful attitude of tracks like Picture to Burn or Should Have Said No. She described You're Not Sorry as a silent over fairy tale boyfriends who don't live up to their knighthood. Music critics gave You're Not Sorry mixed reviews. Sheffield labeled the track drippy and opined that it was not as effective as other upbeat Fearless tracks. Retrospective reviews from Hannah Milrea of NME 2020 and Nate Jones of Vulture 2024 called the song overdone and unflinching. The musicologist James E. Perrone found the lyrics empowering for females, but he found the message repetitive given the track's placement on the album. because it reprises the themes of the preceding tracks like White Horse and Tell Me Why. Positive reviews that complimented the production were from Keefe, who highlighted the prominent pop hooks, and the Sudbury Star's John Law, who praised the big league sound that would suggest new musical directions for Swift's artistry and level the competition. Nick Catucci of New York said that he could come up with better songs in the last 10 years. But he admitted that this bittersweet bit of pop fluff succeeds splendidly, and remarked that Swift operated on her own terms. Some reviews were fond of Swift's singing. Brittany Spanos of Rolling Stone wrote about how her voice pierces through the sound of her band for one of her first truly dramatic vocal deliveries. And Thomas Kittner of the Hartford Courant regarded the track as a smart balance between teenage naivety and matured craftsmanship. In part thanks to Swift's breathy and simple vocals, Strecker in 2014 selected You're Not Sorry as one of Swift's 10 most underrated songs. Reviews of You're Not Sorry, Taylor's version, generally acclaimed Swift's vocals as having improved. Joe Coscarelli from the New York Times said he had admired Swift's songwriting but felt the original production a little, and the fresh and refined re-recording made him more appreciative of the track. Rian Daly of the 45 selected it as one of Swift's most underrated songs, saying that the rockier sound and the Nashville twang suggested the diverse musical experimentations that contributed to her later works. Swift performed You're Not Sorry live for the first time at the 44th Academy of Country Music Awards on April 5, 2009. She entered the stage with a magic trick by David Copperfield that made her appear in a seemingly empty cage suspended in the air. Swift then played a piano to sing You're Not Sorry, and towards its conclusion, she was supported by a string section. The biographer Liv Spencer considered the Copperfield introduction one of Swift's most memorable awards show moments. Todd Martins of the Los Angeles Times considered it unnecessary and criticized her vocals as weak. Swift later performed the song at the 2009 CMA Music Festival on June 14. The song was part of the regular set list for Swift's first headlining concert tour, the Fearless Tour, 2009-2010. During each performance, Swift donned a black cocktail dress with sparkly ornaments along the stomach. She began by singing You're Not Sorry while playing a black baby grand piano, and then covered snippets of Justin Timberlake's 2006 single, What Goes Around Comes Around, while whipping her hair. Towards the number's conclusion, Swift intermingled between the two songs as stage lights flashed, smoke swirled, and backup dancers performed hip-hop acrobatics. John Pareles of the New York Times deemed this performance a highlight of the show, 60, but Reed Fisher of Miami New Times regarded it as one of the only unsavory moments. Alice Fisher of The Observer found Swift's theatrics and acting unconvincing, although she found her piano performance fantastic. For the set list of the Speak Now World Tour, 2011-2012, Swift included You're Not Sorry as part of a mashup with her 2010 single, Back to December, and OneRepublic's 2007 single, Apologize. The performance began with snowy stage graphics and tuxedo-wearing dancers performing a choreography on a bridge that was lowered onto the stage, dressed in a long gown. Swift sang the mashup while playing a baby grand piano, backed by 9 violinists. Swift occasionally performed You're Not Sorry on her later tours. On the Red Tour, she sang the track during the show in Tacoma, Washington, in March 2013. On the Eras Tour, she performed You're Not Sorry on piano during the show in Houston, Texas, on April 21. 2023, and as part of a guitar mashup with her 2006 song, Should Have Said No, during the show in Sydney, Australia, on February 23, 2024. This is the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.